How's it going, Guardians? Shifty here, and today I'm going to be doing another solo run of the Grandmaster Devils LAIR Nightfall. In this one, I'm going to be doing a run on a Hunter. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I did do a run on a Warlock the other day, which I'll link in the upper right hand corner right now. Anyway, since this is a long run, I don't want to spend too much time on this intro. So before I get into my loadout, if you end up enjoying the video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright, to start things off, for my subclass I went with Top Tree Nightstalker, and for my exotic here I'm using Orpheus Rig. Then for my weapons I have the Seventh Seraph Carbine auto rifle, and this is for barrier champions. For overload champions, I have the Le Monarque exotic bow, which does void damage. And for my heavy weapon, I have the Tarantula arc linear fusion rifle. And lastly, for my armor mods, I'm just going to quickly show you each piece of armor, and if you need to see anything in more detail, just pause the video. Also, if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section down below. Alright, and that is it for my loadout in this one. I will be offering commentary throughout this run, and there will be timestamps if you want to skip to a particular part. Now, let's jump right into it. Alright, so if you did see my Warlock run, I'm going to do the same thing right here at the beginning. I'm just going to go ahead and skip pretty much all of the enemies at the beginning here. So I do want to mention that you can actually skip this overload champion and still get a platinum run. Here I'm trying to clear most of the enemies out before the barrier champion gets over here. That was a close one. Generally I like to try to block shots with some cover here. I'm going to go invisible until it barriers again. There we go. I always like to try to keep moving when the boomer is shooting at me. That way I can at least avoid some of its shots. So I know there are some solar shields throughout this Nightfall. However, I don't have any solar damage, so I'm going to have to rely on Le Monarque and maybe my linear fusion rifle to take them out. The reason I brought that up is because there is a wizard with a solar shield right to my left here. However, I'm going to try to focus on this overload champion first. The wizard kind of got in my way here. And now I'm going to try to go for the wizard. Shield is almost gone here. And there we are. The wizard is down. Luckily, it didn't get its shield back at all. So right here I'm going to go ahead and super since there's a huge group of enemies right here. This will help me attempt to try and take some of these wizards with solar shields out. I don't know how well it's going to work, especially when I'm being shot from distance over there. Thankfully I did end up taking out a few enemies with my super. Now I think I can try to focus on one of these wizards here. That one might be too far to my left for me to pop out and fire at it, so I'm going to go for this one instead. Worst thing is when the wizards hide like this. I'm going to try to jump shoot it here, but I don't want to peek out because there are sniping vandals to my left. I do want to say that Le Monarque is actually pretty great for those wizards since the damage over time will help delay them getting their shields back. Alright, so the barrier champion is down here. I'm going to try to go for some of these enemies over by the overload champion. I still have some snipers to deal with that are up on the ledge back there as well. There's one of them. And the second one moved on over to the right there. I'm going to peek over here. And now I can go for the overload champions and the enemies that are around it. If I saw more heavy ammo lying around on the ground, I would probably use my linear fusion rifle, but Le Monarque should do a fine job on its own. Go around and grab some of this ammo quick. I'm pretty much going to do all of the fighting for this section from way back here. I might push forward a little bit as the enemies get thinned out. As you can see, we do have an overload champion here. And I had a little bit of linear fusion rifle ammo to spare, so I decided to go ahead and use that here. If you're not finding too many enemies in your back here, you can always peek out a little bit. Always be prepared to head back to the safe spot though. I also fight from behind this train car every once in a while as well. Usually this is a pretty effective spot when there aren't too many other enemies around at the time. So I heard a shank spawn here, so I'm going to head back to this spot. There's going to be several shanks here, so I have to be careful. That was a terrible grenade, honestly. Way too far. Gotta be careful for this Vandal sniper. So I think the only enemy that I have left right now is that arc-shielded captain. I do need to take that out to progress this area. I'm going to go ahead and finish that off right now and then head back to my safe spot. As you can see, security measures deactivated is now 1 out of 3 instead of 0 out of 3. I am going to go ahead and super right now because we do have a solar shielded wizard that I'm going to try to take out, as well as several other hive enemies. So I did break the wizard's shield. It took quite a bit of heavy ammo, but I think it might be worth it if I can take it out here. Alright, so during this phase, you're going to have some hive enemies and fallen enemies. They do end up fighting each other, so they're often distracted, which is great for you. It makes it much easier for you to pick those enemies off without being in much danger yourself. I did get the wizard's attention there, but I'm going to back away and see if we can break the shield now. So the solar shields are kind of annoying if you don't have any solar damage, but there are so few of them in this Nightfall that you can get away without having any solar damage if you want to. As you can see, there's a bunch of arc-shielded enemies. We have some melee knights, and we also have some captains here. I'm going to try to take all of these enemies out before I go for that barrier champion. I might be a little too far away here. Yeah, I was a bit too far away to get that stun. I'm gonna head up here and try to get a little bit closer. We'll see how this vantage point does. Looks like I do have an enemy right in front of me as well. Be ready for the stun. I'm going to jump over the car so I don't get hit by the boomer shot. I wanted to make those shots count. I am down to 0 heavy ammo, so that's going to be interesting, especially since there's an arc-shielded captain still. There's a little heavy ammo brick here. And we got our shank spawn, of course. Broke the captain's shield. I'm going to try to focus on that as long as I can. Look how many shanks are out here, though. Just toss the smoke out there quick. I got some heavy ammo and some elemental wells, so that's kind of nice. Looks like we do still have an orange bar sniping vandal in the distance there, and the captain is approaching again. See if I can get a shot off on that captain. There we go. And we do have an overload. I'm going to go ahead and stun that so I can focus on the captain that I de-shielded. Got to be careful with all these vandals here. That arc damage could hurt quite a bit. Alright, that super didn't work out too bad actually. Cleared out some of the enemies and double stunned both overloads. So this overload champion is weak. And I think the other one is as well. With the poison splash damage from Le Monarque, I was able to stun that one while fighting that first one. Alright, and both overload champions are down here. Take out some of the regular enemies that are hanging out. Gotta go for the sniper yet as well. I should actually almost be done with this area now. Oh, there's some invisible marauders hanging out here too. And luckily for me, there's plenty of heavy ammo lying around here. And like I thought, I'm able to move on now. There's some enemies off to my left there. I'm going to go invisible. That almost was a little bit too late on my part. I think there's two vandals down low here that I have to be careful for. Stun the overload champion so it doesn't harass me while I'm fighting these vandals. I have to be careful here too as well. I pushed forward a little bit there to try to get my elemental well to seek to me, but I guess it didn't want to do that. Alright, now we get to move on to the fun part of the strike with the fallen walker tank and a couple of brigs. Of course, I don't want to spawn those right away. I want to try to clear out as many enemies as possible before I spawn them. In order to do that, you don't want to push too far forward past that building that these snipers are on top of. I'm going to try to take those snipers out right away. Apparently, I decided to waste a bunch of heavy ammo doing that here. Alright, now I want to try to go for the barrier champion. I'm going to go ahead and super it. Tossed a grenade out there as well. Don't know how much this is going to help. Let me try to get the champion to barrier. And I'm going to go invisible here. I wanted to try to clear some of the enemies out here. But I was a little bit too slow there, but I can try to get another stun here. Make sure I hide immediately after that and get some damage off. Be ready for the stun again. Alright, so luckily I got the champion down, which means I can focus on clearing the enemies out without them being shielded any longer. So even if you clear out these enemies nearby, you have to be careful because there's snipers in the distance, as you can see, and I got nailed by one of those. So you can pretty easily take them out with a bow, you just have to be careful not to get double sniped here. Generally, the snipers won't shoot at you if you're far enough back in this little room that I'm in. However, every once in a while they might get a shot off on you here. Alright, 2 of them are down. Off to the left, there is one more sniper on this little building. And I'm going to try to take some of these enemies out down here. Again, I don't want to push too far forward because I don't want to spawn the Brigs yet. I'm going to try to take out a few more enemies first. As you can see, there's some more Vandals off to the left here. And there's some orange bar Vandals way off in the distance. I do like to try to clear most of those out before I move on here. You can also see there's some enemies down to my right, including an Overload champion. I think I'm safe enough to go for this Overload right now. Now that the Overload is down, I'm going to go for some of these orange bar Vandals in the distance again. I'm going to try to take them all out before I move on here. Just double checking before I decide to push forward and spawn those Brigs. And here they come. So I am going to focus on this leftmost Brig right away. It's pretty safe over here. For the most part, I'm just going to spam my bow at it. The infinite ammo and damage over time should do a decent amount of damage. It's not the fastest method of all time, but it's the most ammo efficient. I may end up using a few linear fusion rifle shots when I do break the face off of the Brig. But as you can see, it's already less than 2/3 of its health. The front of the Brig should be breaking off any time here. There it is. I'm going to use a few linear fusion rifle shots. Get one more poison shot on it before it does its fire attack here. So I did manage to find a little bit of a safe angle here. Fire attacks can't hit me, and I was able to get crit damage with my bow. See if I can just pick a few more fallen off before I move on to the right Brig. So sometimes when shooting this Brig, especially with the damage over time, it likes to shift off to the left there. Ideally, you want it to kind of push up to the right so you can get a better angle on it to fight it without getting the attention of the fallen walker. So right now I am struggling trying to get it up to the right, and I'm just pushing it further to the left here. Unfortunately, I have it way under this bridge over here even. Alright, I think I'm going to stop firing on it for some time and see if I can get it to push up to the right here. Try to get its attention without doing some damage here. And it's slowly walking up to the right. There we go. That is a much better position for me to fight it from. Front is off. I'm going to go ahead and use my linear fusion. So this angle is relatively safe. You do have to be careful if you pop out too far. It might target to the right of this cover that you're behind. Then you would likely get hit by the solar explosion, so always be on the lookout for that. That's why I keep backing away on the stairs there. Either way, that's the second Brig down. So I'm going to try to get the walker tank's attention over here. It does look like I got it, and it's going to be shooting one of the heavy attacks over here. What I'm going to do is head off to the left. And it looks to me like it's partially focused on where I was over on the right side still. So from this angle, it looks like I'm free and clear to continue to shoot at its leg. I already have it down to 2/3 of its health. So there is a fallen ship that just came in, so you have to be careful for that, not to get shot by the turrets on that. This is a perfect situation. Since that fallen walker is focused on the right hand side, I'm free to just keep shooting it here. And with infinite ammo on Le Monarque, it makes an excellent weapon for doing damage to this walker from safety. As you can tell, I already broke the front leg on that side, so I have to shoot the second leg. So that's why I was kind of aiming towards the top of it. So now I have 2 legs broken on that side, so I have to either shoot the back one on that side, or I'm going to have to shoot some legs on the other side of the walker. In order to shoot the other side, I'm probably going to have to move here. So you can see there are some fallen marauders over here to my right. I was trying to get an angle so I could shoot the weak spot, but I'm going to try to resume shooting at the legs here. Don't know how well this is going to go. See if I can come over here and get an angle on an unbroken leg. There we go. The front leg on this side looks good to shoot. And it's still focused on that right hand side where I was before. So there aren't too many crit spots to shoot. I can barely hit this one. I'm basically just going to try to spam my bow to take out the remaining health on the walker. So I've hit a surprising number of crits on this particular leg. Either way, the walker is finally down. I was kind of waiting for that barrier champion to go far enough away where it wasn't shielding the overload anymore. So now I'm going to try to take this overload out from a safe distance. Likewise, I think I can go ahead and try to take out the overload champion in the back as well. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to hit it, especially a crit shot, but I think this should go pretty well. So even though I'm maintaining a safe distance, this Nightfall is actually going pretty quickly. Safety doesn't always mean that you have to approach the Nightfall and do it slowly. So I do want to reiterate that safety doesn't always mean you have to approach things slowly. As you can see, I'm almost done with the walker tank portion at just over 33 minutes. That's extremely good for a solo run. Also, just for context, my first ever run of this Grandmaster Nightfall took me about an hour and a half. This one is going to take me less than 1 hour. So it looks like I'm going to have to focus on this barrier champion to take out any other enemies in the area. I'm going to go ahead and get that stun off. And that was a close one. Procced my protective light, which is ideal. That should allow me to focus on this barrier still. I was not reloaded. I'm going to have to use my remaining heavy ammo here. I don't mind doing that, especially when it's to take a champion out that I don't really want to have to deal with without heavy ammo. As you can see, we do have one more overload champion off to the left there. I'm just checking my right hand side there for my own safety. A couple of dregs popped out to the right here. I'm going to take those out before I continue to focus on the champion. And to get my platinum rating, I do want to take this champion out, so I'm going to go ahead and do so before I move on. Need to run around and make sure I collect any ammo that I can. So I'm only at about half capacity for my heavy ammo heading into the boss fight. It's not great, but I think we should get plenty of heavy ammo throughout the boss fight since there are so many adds. So before you can even fight the boss, there's going to be a ton of enemies right at the beginning here, including 2 overload champions. I just decided to go ahead and super. It wasn't going to hurt anything, and I can focus on one of the overloads right away. My super may also take out a few of the additional enemies around it. I almost have this overload down already. I'm going to go ahead and stun this other one just in case. Alright, so just one overload champion left, I believe. And try to grab some heavy ammo out here while I can. Now that the boss is de-shielded, I'm going to go ahead and do some damage right off the bat. And enemies are going to spawn right away, so I have to be careful for that. I almost ended up dying in that circumstance. There are going to be 2 arc-shielded captains here. One of them will push into this room, so you have to be careful and take that particular captain out. Overall, this room is pretty safe. Enemies don't really push in here. Every once in a while you might have one, but for the most part you can kind of sit in here and shoot out the window. So my general cadence for this boss fight is I like to clear out all of the adds, and then when I know all of the adds are cleared out, I go ahead and do some more boss damage. Of course, there are 2 phases of void shielded servitors that are going to shield the boss that you have to take out. The same thing applies there. I generally try to clear the area out first, and then I focus on those servitors, and then when the servitors are down, I try to clear out any more adds again, and then go for boss damage. Alright, so I can resume some boss damage here. And now we have a servitor phase. I'm going to try to use my super on him, actually. I actually believe that my tether was blocking my shot right there. So that didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go. I feel like I could have done a significant amount more damage if my tether wasn't blocking my shots. The poison explosions from Le Monarque are honestly amazing for clearing out groups of enemies. Obviously it doesn't work on Shanks, but any enemies with a crit spot it works wonders with. It's also ideal for taking out the shields on these servitors. As you can see here, there are still some ads all over the place, so I want to try to take those out before I resume attacking those servitors. Every once in a while I try to get a shot off on a servitor for some poison damage, and maybe even take one out that's problematic, like that one, which could kind of shoot inside this doorway. I always like to check the lower level there just in case some enemies end up down there. I have a drag right outside here. And there's one servitor left. I'm going to try to go for some heavy ammo here. Boss is once again de-shielded, so I'm going to try to do some damage before the enemies spawn, but they're already coming my way. I'm going to grab this heavy ammo and retreat into my room again. Might as well go ahead and use my super. There's going to be plenty of enemies here to get caught in it. That was a great super, actually. That was a terrible grenade, though. Get some more boss damage off now that I've cleared out the area. As you can see, invisible marauders do end up spawning eventually. Now, those invisible marauders will not push in this room in general. However, if you do go down this staircase and look at the lower level, you might end up having one of the marauders push into here. I think the boss teleported right here. You don't want to get too close to the doorway when the boss is right in front of you like this. It can do a melee sort of attack, which does a lot of damage. And we have another Shank spawn, which I have to take out before I can resume damaging Sepiks Prime. As you can see, there's an arc shielded captain over there. Alright, the captain is down. The vandal is down. There is an arc captain in this little room off to my right here, as you can see. Luckily, I can get a little bit of an angle on it here. Alright, I think I'm safe to damage the boss here in just a moment. I'm going to grab the heavy ammo out here. I am going to look down here for some enemies. And what do you know, there are actually enemies down here right now. So I'm going to try to do some boss damage from this lower level. Gotta be careful, you don't want to get hit by too many shots from the boss. Back to damaging Sepiks. And we should have another phase of servitors. I'm going to try to super the boss instead of the servitors this time. That worked much better. And as you can see, I can actually hit the crit spot on this servitor now. During this particular ad phase, during the second set of servitors, you are going to have 2 overload champions to contend with. I'm going to see if I can try to take this first one out right away. I'm going to jump over here to the left. And almost died to one of the dregs, unfortunately. Alright, one of the 2 overloads is down. Got some more shanks here. I know there's a second overload around here somewhere. I think it might be in that room to my left. There's for sure a drag and a shank in there. And the overload is hiding right there by the stairs. I can't quite shoot it from this angle. So we have the overload champion at a decent angle where I can peek shoot it. In addition to that, I have the front 2 servitors down so they can't shoot at me from this angle. So I think I should be good to take this champion out. Alright, that worked out pretty well. See if I can find myself some heavy ammo. There we go. That was quite a bit of heavy ammo. I'm going to jump over this ledge and go the long way back to my little room. I'm going to focus on the servitors now. So I knew the boss was going to be kind of in the distance here, so that's why I decided to come down here. As you notice, there was one of those invisible marauders that I warned you about. If you go down to that lower level, you have to be careful because those invisible marauders may show up. Again, since there were so many ads that spawned, I decided to go ahead and use my super. This one didn't work out quite as well as I would have hoped. So there are a couple of enemies off to my right there, and I almost got myself killed here. What I want to do is take those enemies off to the right, and then I should be free to do damage to the boss. Alright, now I should be good to damage the boss. The only threat to me now is the actual Sepiks Prime Void Blasts. Don't know why it's glitching out there. And there we are, Sepiks Prime is down. A 52-minute solo run on a Nightstalker Hunter. Anyway, that was a solo platinum run of the Grandmaster Devils LAIR Nightfall on a Hunter. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe. I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.